All right, guys. So you're going to have a quiz on either Thursday or Friday on these parallel lines and transversals. So make sure you complete this homework and make sure you take notes so that you can use your notes if you need to for the quiz. So this question says that also there's some key vocab that's in the front of your book. Go ahead and Google that information and put that in your book so you'll know your vocabulary words, because those are going to be very important for the quiz and important for you to solve these problems. So this problem says if segment AB, which is this segment in purple, is parallel, that's the symbol for parallel, this is the symbol for parallel, to segment CD, that's this right here, that's segment CD, and segment EF, I'm going to highlight that in blue, this is EF, is a transversal. That means this line cuts these two parallel lines and make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 angles. Write the angle measurement for the angles and name the angles. All right, so this wants us to write the angle measurements and name the angles. All right, anytime you're given these problems, you're going to be given something that's going to help you figure out where to go and how to do it. So right here, we have angle 60. At angle 60, you can start here. I'm going to start in the easiest spot and say angle 60 and angle 6 are the same measurement. So I want to say the measure of angle 6 equals 60. And I'm going to say that because they are vertical angles. And I'm going to write V8 as vertical angles. So I can put actually 60 right here for that angle as well. Okay, the next angle I'm going to go to is, I'm going to go ahead and get angle 5. So angle 5 and angle 6 are what we call supplementary angles. And in your vocabulary words, it means these two angles add to equal 180. So we're going to say the measure of angle 6 plus the measure of angle 5 is equal to 180. And we're going to call those SA for supplementary angle. So to find this, I just need to get the measure of angle 5. I'm going to say the measure of angle 5 equals 180 minus 60, which is going to be 120. So the measure of angle 5 right here is going to be 120 because 6 and 5 are supplementary angles. They should add to equal 180. Now that I know 5, I can easily get 7. So I can say the measure of angle 5 is equal to the measure of angle 7 because they are vertical angles. And that means the measure of angle 7 is going to be equal to 120. So this angle right here is 120 because they are vertical angles. Now we have to jump and we want to find angles 4, 3, 1, and 2. So there is a relationship between 5 and 4, and there's a relationship between 5 and 3 and 60 and 3. So there's a couple of ways you can approach this. There's a couple of ways you can approach it. You can say 5 plus 4 is equal to 180 degrees because they are on the same side of the they're same side interior angles. And let me show you what we mean by interior. So I have these blue segments, which are called parallel lines. So angles 4, 3, 5, and angle 60 are inside the parallel lines. And this yellow, well, inside the parallel segments. And this yellow segment is called a transversal. So if I look at 5 and 3, they're on alternate sides of the inside, and they're on alternate sides of that yellow segment right there. So 5 and 3 are called alternate interior angles. They're alternate interior angles. So I can say that the measure of angle 5 is equal to the measure of angle 3, and that's because they're alternate interior angles, and I'm going to call them AI. So if 5 is 120, so is 3 going to be 120 degrees. So now we can start figuring out some other stuff. And you don't have to necessarily go in the order that I'm going in. This is just my thinking. As long as your logic is good, you can continue to go into these orders. So here, I'm going to say that I can go ahead and find the measure of angle 2 as well. I can find the measure of angle 2, and I'm going to say the measure of angle 2 is equal to 60, because if I look here, you see how 60, and let me put that in red. You see how 60 is on the top of the bottom line, and the measure of angle 2 is on the top of the top line? Then those are called corresponding angles. They're in the same positions on the line. 60 is on the top of the bottom line, and measure of angle 2 is on the top of the top line. So this up here also has to be 60. And those are called corresponding angles. And that same idea, I could say the measure of angle 5 is equal to the measure of angle 1 for corresponding angles as well. So if 5 is 120, 5 is at the top of the bottom line, and 1 is at the top of the top line. So this right here is also 120 degrees. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1 is 120. Okay, so I need to find 4. We have a lot of options to find what the measure of angle 4 is. We can say that measure of angle 4 is equal to measure of angle 2 because they're vertical angles. Or we can say the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 4 will equal 180 because they're on the same side of the interior. So I'm going to go with that one since we haven't talked about that one yet. So I want to say the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 4 should equal 180 degrees. And those angles are supplementary angles. And they are called the same side interior. They're on the inside of the parallel segments, and they're on the same side of the transversals. So same sides of interior, and they are supplementary angles. So the measure of angle 4 would be equal to 120. Wait, I'm tripping. Would be equal to 180 minus 120, which is 60. And you could have called that a vertical angle as well. There's something else you need to understand too. When you see the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is also 180 degrees. That's called a linear pair. That's called, I'm going to say LP short for linear pair. The measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, that's called a linear pair. So anytime you have angles that are right beside each other, they're linear pairs and they should be supplementary. That means they add to equal 180. So that's the same for 4 and 3, same thing for 5 and 60, and same thing for 6 and 7. And then you're done with that. Use this example to help you with the other examples that are in your homework. I'm going to go over 2 more. All right, so I'm giving the same information. It's saying AB is parallel to segment CD and EF is a transversal. Write the angle measurement for the angles and the names. All right, so I have to go through this again. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start right here with 45. And I'm going to go with the easiest way to approach this. 45 and 3 are vertical angles. So I'm going to put 45 there. So the measure of angle 3 is equal to 45. And those are called vertical angles. I'm going to go here and say 3 and 4. The measure of angle 3. Let's write that a little neater. The measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 is going to be 180 degrees. And that's because they are a linear pair. So that means the measure of angle 4 would be equal to 180 minus 45. Let me do my old school math. 180 minus 45, that would drop that down to 7. That would be 135. So right here, the measure of angle 4 is equal to 135. because 3 and 4 are linear pairs, and you can do the same thing right here too. 1 and 3 are linear pairs. They're supplementary. But I'm going to go the easy way out. I'm going to say the measure of angle 4 is going to be equal to the measure of angle 1. And that is because they're vertical angles. So the measure of angle 1 is equal to 135. So right here, I'm going to put 135. That's what that angle is equal to. Now we need to get into how do I get this stuff that's down here. So how do I get this stuff that's down here? So I have a couple of options. I can go, well, I'm going to go corresponding angles right now. I'm going to say I'm at the top of this top line. That's 135. So the top of this bottom line is also going to be 135. So I want to say the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 5 because they are corresponding angles. And I'm saying CA for short. And we went over this in class already. So these names shouldn't be new to you guys. So we're going to say the measure of angle 5 is equal to 135. So right here, 135. Okay? Alrighty. Let's see. I want to find this angle right here. Well, no, let me just go with angle 6. Let's go with angle 2. Measure of angle 2 is going to be equal to 45. Measure of angle 2 is going to be equal to 45. And it's going to be 45 because those are alternate interior angles. 45 and 2 are inside of the parallel segments. They're inside of it. And they're on opposite sides of this transversal. Those are called alternate interior. Interior means inside, and alternate means opposite sides. So therefore, I know this angle right here is 45. I'm going easy here. I'm going to go ahead and say that, have I used linear pairs already? Yep, I used linear pairs. Oh, so there's another one. The measure of angle 1 is also equal to the measure of angle 6. Measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 6. And they're on opposite sides of the transversal, which is the yellow segment. And they're on the exterior, the outside of the parallel line. So those are called alternate exterior angles. So that means the measure of angle 6 down here is 35. So I want to say the measure of angle 6 equals 135. Okay? So I know that this little piece right here is going to be equal to 45, but I need to solve for x here. So I'm going to say 5x minus 3 should equal to 45 because I know this angle is going to be 45 because the measure of angle 2 and this angle are vertical angles, so they should be equal. So I'm going to go ahead and say that measure of angle 2 should equal 5x minus 3. This angle should equal that. Okay, and I'm going to say the measure of angle 2 is 45. I'm going to use my line method. Add 3, 5x equals 48 divided by 5, divide by 5. So x equals 48 over 5. And you're done with that. Okay? Alrighty, let's keep it on moving, babies. So I'm going to do, let me see what I want to do here. I don't think there's any more for me to do. So you guys go ahead and solve all of these problems and use those rules that you know to help you solve these. And if you have any questions when you come back to class, I got you. Bye. So you have 2 pages, this one and this one. And you put that in Book Creator. All right, bye guys.